Morning. Oh, there's the other tier over there. Let me start by thanking a number of people who have joined me here today. Tom Chamberlain, who's the president of the Oregon AFL-CIO. We have Duncan Wise from the Oregon Business Council, Jay Clemens from Associated Oregon Industries, Sandy McDonough from the Portland Business Alliance, Ryan Deckert from the Oregon Business Association, and Tamara Scott, who is an Oregonian who recently completed the National Career Readiness Certificate Program and will be speaking to us in a few moments about that. So you've all seen the unemployment report. We are down a full percentage point in unemployment over the past 6 weeks. And Oregon is now out of double-digit unemployment since the first time in December of 2008. We've created about 16,000 new jobs in this state since January, which gives us the 7th fastest job growth year to year in the nation. This is clearly very, very good news for our state, and although we still have a long ways to go, it's very clear that this recent revenue forecast, as well as the fact that employment has been up in 5 out of the last 6 months, is a good indication that the private sector is investing in equipment, in people, and plants, which is the single most important key to creating private sector economic activity and jobs for our citizens. But there's a number of other things that we've seen since January that I think also suggest that this recovery is underway. First, Standard & Poor's has upgraded our bond rating to AA+, in part due to the very sound fiscal budget that we proposed in February. We passed Senate Bill 301, which was the federal reconnect that allows Oregon companies to accelerate depreciation for large equipment purposes, freeing up capital in the short term. We took a significant step towards moving the Columbia River crossing forward by agreeing on the bridge type, which will hopefully give us a record of decision by the end of this year and allow us to break ground sometime later this biennium. The potential for 20,000 direct and indirect jobs will flow from that. Companies like Solar Power, U.S. Geothermal, Facebook, Shimadzu, Vigor Industrial are announcing new Oregon plants and jobs, acquisitions, and capital investment. Since I helped launch the National Career Readiness Certificate Program earlier this year, nearly 2,500 Oregonians have received their certification through a program that has a stellar record of connecting unemployed Oregonians to high-demand jobs. We're also helping small business through our economic development agency, Business Oregon, connecting them with export markets, linking them to supply chains of larger companies, connecting them with innovative research from Oregon's universities, and helping them access the capital that they need to grow their businesses and create jobs. In February, Business Oregon opened its Oregon Advantage web portal that is accessible through my website that illustrates a list of competitive advantages that Oregon offers to companies in this country and around the world. It houses a comprehensive list of business-friendly resources that are available at all levels of government, and it offers a way for business to connect with experts in their local communities to address their particular business needs. And finally, I've met with business leaders across the state on my Rebuild Oregon tour, and from Pendleton to Medford to Bend to Northeast Portland, I've been able to connect directly with business folks to start a very positive dialogue and begin to change the tone at the top in terms of our business climate here in Oregon. But we clearly can and must do more. The recovery is uneven. There are parts of the state that have not benefited as much as other parts of the state. So we have the opportunity this session to build on this strong start, to create family wage jobs and to attract new investment and to help revitalize particularly hard-hit communities. Throughout the session, I've been working closely with legislative leaderships on a number of budget and policy priorities that will continue to improve Oregon's business climate. And I'm very grateful that we have today leadership from both labor and business to join me in urging the legislature to act and act soon on my jobs and economy agenda to help further this economic recovery. I think we all recognize, and hopefully we're beginning to talk more openly about the fact that Oregon is a great place to do business. And I'm convinced that if we continue to focus on education and training and proven job creation strategies and investing in innovation, that we can and will create a very prosperous and sustainable future for Oregon. Now, my jobs and economy agenda has 15 budget and policy priorities that include a number of things. Funding for the Oregon Innovation Council, for the Credit Enhancement Fund, and for the Strategic Reserve Fund. boosting economic activity in rural parts of the state by engaging in local forest collaboratives and supporting the emerging biomass energy industry, passing Senate Bill 766, which speeds up permitting in significant industrial areas, passing House Bill 2960, the Cool Schools Initiative, which will weatherize inefficient public school buildings, and funding targeted tax credits, tax incentives for film and video production and for clean energy that can produce significant private sector investment and job creation. Finally, I want to mention that there are two significant areas of transformation on which I think our long-term economic recovery also depends. One of those is the transformation of our system of public education, which is in Senate Bill 909. And the second is transforming our healthcare delivery system, which is in House Bill 3650 and Senate Bill 99. These, I think, are essential to creating the workforce for the 21st century. They're essential for driving our per capita income back up above the national average in every region of the state. In short, they're essential to securing a prosperous and sustainable future for Oregon. Now I'd like to introduce Tamara Scott, who, as I said, earned her National Career Readiness Certificate and was able to find the job after looking for over a year. Tamara?
Thank you, Governor. Good morning. I lost my full-time job in March 2010. I was sure I'd have another within a few months. 3 months went by, then 4, 5, and 6. I took contract temp jobs to extend my unemployment, very soon hoping that another good job was just around the corner. By Christmas, I was scared that I would never find even a decent job ever again. I was sending out 10 to 20 resumes a week, going to job fairs and filling out applications in person with no results. The job market was quiet. By January, I was feeling alone and desperate. How will I pay my rent or bills or buy essentials, let alone have luxuries like a car or savings? Carrie and Jessie Jane, my cats, both refused to work outside home. Thanks to heartening words from relatives, friends, my pastors, and neighbors, I picked myself up and formed a new strategy. I headed to the Tualatin branch of WorkSource Oregon once a week from opening to closing. I filled out applications, sent out resume, and attended several workshops. The staff there encouraged me to take 3 National Career Readiness exams. Why not? It was a challenge, and I love those. Because I took those tests, I was able to sign up for the on-the-job training workshop. This is for experienced workers who find themselves out of work, they're missing job-specific skills, or they want or need to change careers due to shifting markets. The National Career Readiness Certificate and the on-the-job training workshop combine to make the transition to a workplace easier on employers, allowing funds for training. As the economy recovers, employers might want to hire a new person, but realize that someone from the already hardworking staff has to be pulled away from their job to help train the new person. It's expensive and time-consuming to train a new employee properly. Job seekers want good-paying, full-time jobs with benefits. The frustration is on both sides. This was exactly what was happening with me. I felt empowered now. I reworked my resume and began searching not only just for a job, but for a career that I would love. Within 2 weeks, 7 of the 9 employers I had sent resumes to had contacted me. I had 4 interviews in 1 week. The following week, only 3 weeks after taking the on-the-job training workshop, and 1 year to the day I was laid off my full-time job, I landed a benefit-filled, full-time, great career at Mason, Bruce & Girard, a natural resource consulting firm based out of Portland. I like my coworkers, enjoy my bosses, and I love my job. I would encourage everyone who finds himself like me to sign up for these programs with WorkSource Oregon, and I'm thankful that businesses like Mason, Bruce & Girard are putting Oregonians like me back to work. Thank you.
Now, we all know that at the end of the day, the government doesn't create jobs. It's the private sector that creates jobs. But what the government can do is create an environment that supports private sector investment and job creation. So I'd like to ask Pat Wrighton, who is the chair of the Oregon Business Plan, and on Tom Chamberlain to step up for a moment and provide their perspectives from both the business and labor standpoint. Pat.
Thank you, Governor. Well, Tamara, thanks for being here. Thanks for reminding us what this is all about. You know, real people, real families, real opportunities. I have to tell you, Governor, I didn't know until we talked beforehand that one of the 7 companies that got back to her in one of the 4 interviews was Pacific Power and Pacific Core. So, and apparently by the time we were getting back, you'd already found a job. So well done. I'm sorry we couldn't. We were an unsuccessful applicant, apparently. Governor, I just want to thank you for your leadership in calling us here today. I appreciate your continued partnership with the business community and our partners from labor on implementation of the Oregon Business Plan agenda items. At the Oregon Business Summit, December 13th of this past year, we set some goals. We set a goal to raise the average per capita income of Oregonians to at least the national average by 2020, currently standing at only 91% of the national average. We set a goal of adding 25,000 jobs per year, every year, to the Oregon economy. We're just delighted at today's announcement as an indication that we're making progress on those goals. Private employment is achievable. These goals, we can make them. They're the engine for restoring Oregon's prosperity. But obviously, we have quite a ways to go yet. Putting Oregonians back to work, raising our incomes is a team effort, and everybody in this room and beyond is on that team. Now, what I can say is that the team is working better than ever. And we need to make progress right now so we can seize the moment, so that we can keep the momentum going. A report issued jointly by Oregon's 4 largest business associations pointed to a number of bills still alive in the legislature that need immediate attention to help create jobs. That list is available at OregonBusinessPlan.org. There's real opportunities yet this session to create additional revenue stability, improve the state's investment climate, higher education reform, to enact a new P through 20 education funding model, to create economic incentives so that we can cite new businesses and jobs here, so that we can promote energy efficiency and invest in biomass energy in the state. So we encourage the legislature to work in concert with the governor to seize the moment, to implement key elements of the Oregon Business Plan and keep the jobs agenda moving forward. Again, Governor, thank you for your continued partnership and leadership and collaboration with us. It is greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Tom?
Good morning, everyone. You know, if you're 11% of Oregonians, 11% of the workforce that have been out of work for since 2008, there wasn't a lot of hope. I think the numbers today give those folks some hope that things are turning around, things are changing, and there will be an opportunity for them to rejoin the middle class, which many of them have slipped out. The governor's jobs and economy agenda is the next step to this long list of success in this state. The legislature's top priority has to be getting people back to work. And that means passing legislation that will encourage job creation, at the same time maintaining jobs and removing barriers that makes it more difficult to create jobs. And these can't be just any jobs. They need to be jobs that pay middle-class wages and pensions and health care, that keep families in their home and support a strong economy so that our communities can recover. We need to move forward with, I'm going to talk about 2 pieces of legislation that we desperately need to move forward on. And one is the Film Initiative program that attracted the NBC series Grimm. And that series will spend $27 million in the last 6 months of this year. And these are good paying jobs, exactly the kind of jobs that we want for Oregon. And we have to ensure that our recovery isn't just isolated to the Willamette Valley or the Portland metro area, that is throughout the state. And that's why biomass legislation to encourage the development of that energy source be passed to have recovery in our timber-dependent communities. And when we're spending state monies, that's an investment of hardworking Oregonians in our own economy. So we have to ensure that the process is transparent, is accountable, and we know what type of jobs we're creating and where they're created. This is a good start. I'm encouraged, and thank you.
Thanks, Tom. So now we're happy to answer any questions, myself, or I'm sure the other folks here would be also happy to chip in.
Governor, given the tightness of the co-chair's budget, what hope do you have that some of the tax credit proposals that you have and others have will actually get into the process of surviving?
Well, I think it's clear that we're not going to have the level of tax credits that was in my original budget recommendation, and I think for good reason. There were some huge holes in human services, for example, but we are having some conversations at the leadership level on how we can beef up the credits a bit, particularly to try to take into account the really tremendous opportunity with this new NBC series.
I understand that the form of that credit is being rewritten to make it more direct and less of a, what some people call Rube Goldberg mechanism.
I believe the structure is under consideration. I'm not up to date on exactly what it looks like, but I think we all recognize that improvement is a lot of latitude for improvement there.
Governor, there's a package that's kind of hung up in the Senate now, the kicker package, along with capital gains provision on that. What's your feeling about that package, and are you going to put any effort into trying to move that along?
Well, I very strongly believe that Oregon's system of public finance is one of the things that contributes to the roller coaster economic cycles that we experience. And short of a significant overhaul of our tax structure, which is, I think, something we're still going to have a conversation about in the near future, the most rational thing to do is to stabilize revenue through modification of the 2% kicker. Of the personal and corporate kicker. Whether that can actually get out this session, I don't know. I've been having conversations with the Senate President as well as the co-speakers about the package. You know, it's a little complicated. It's a capital gains a tax reduction as well as a modification of the kicker. There's a lot of moving parts on it. We don't have a lot of time left, but I think if we do refer this to the ballot, the most logical time is the November of 2012 election, which could still be referred out of the February session. So I certainly haven't given up on it. I think it's very important that we take this on, and we're going to have to see if we can either get it done now or put together the coalition that's necessary to pass something like that and bring it to the 2012 February session.
Governor, I understand that the Cool Schools initiative has received quite a bit of tweaking to ensure that it doesn't have a fiscal impact in the next biennium. As it's currently formulated, making about $150 million available in loans to schools, how much of an impact do you think that can have on job creation in the state?
Well, you know, $1 million invested in that kind of energy efficiency work creates about 15 direct jobs. And if you do local sourced supply chains, an example I would give you would be a gel to win window, for example, you can actually create more economic activity. I think one of the things we're trying to do here, and you need to recognize that the Cool Schools initiative is just the first step for a much larger effort to increase the energy efficiency of our built environment, is to prove up the cost savings and the efficiencies that can be produced from this, so that we can then hopefully develop a new financing mechanism that will allow these kinds of retrofits to take place in commercial and residential properties as well.
Governor, there's a new poll out today that shows you with a 40% approval rating. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a step forward from the campaign, so it's like our job numbers. We're trending in the right direction.
Governor, there was a concern expressed that you didn't attend a couple of funerals for soldiers killed in action. Can you talk about your policy on that? Because the previous governor had a very clear and highly publicized one about attending every funeral.
Yeah, that's a fair question, and I've made an effort to attend services when I can. I attended, obviously, the service for the chief of police at Rainier, was unable to attend the service in Eugene for the police officer down there. And I guess I view my job as having a variety of responsibilities. I've certainly reached out and expressed my condolences to the families of these brave service men and women. But I doubt if I will be able to attend every single service. It will be my intention to attend as many as I possibly can. But there are a variety of responsibilities that I believe I need to fulfill as well as that.
Governor, your health care transformation bill is moving, but some legislators and interest groups have expressed concern about the amount of savings you can realize immediately from that, particularly in this budget cycle. What would be your answer to?
Did you ever see Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid?
Yes.
You remember the point where they would have to jump off the cliff into the river? And Sundance says, I can't swim. And Butch Cassidy said, the fall will probably kill you. Well, you're looking at a 39% rate reduction or cost reduction with the status quo. So if we don't do anything to transform the healthcare system, we're looking at an enormous, devastating impact on our healthcare delivery system. We believe that we can reduce the short-term cut down to around between 10 and 11%, but we do have to fundamentally reorganize the way healthcare is delivered in the second year of the biennium to achieve additional savings. I can't predict with great clarity the degree to which we'll be successful, but I know that if we don't try to fundamentally change how we deliver medical care, this is going to consume us as a state and as a nation. I guess the question is the status quo, is clean to the status quo more or less risky than trying to reach for the possible and change the delivery mechanism? And I think most of the providers in this state and many of the consumers recognize that the riskiest position we can do is to hold on to the system that we have.
Last question, everybody. One more question for the governor?
Do you see, on the healthcare piece, do you think you're going to need some sort of increase in the health provider tax this time, or?
Yes, yes, and there are active discussions, and the provider tax, once they get the details ironed out, will be the bridge financing, or part of the bridge financing, to reduce the rate cut to keep the system together until we can actually make the transformational changes. Again, thank you very much for joining this morning.